Mitt Romney has a major problem with foreign affairs. Namely, the president is actually quite good at them. The death of Abu Yahya al-Libi, the man Bush CIA director Michael Hayden referred to as al-Qaeda's rock star, is just the latest example. It is a major blow to that organization. Even perennial Obama critic Republican Congressman Peter King of New York admitted to the Huffington Post that it's, quote, another very important development. Yet Mitt Romney just can't bring himself to change the talking points of his own drone attack.
I once had the occasion of meeting with some of the leaders of Great Britain, and one of them said this to me: the one thing we all fear the most is a weak America. The weak America. Weak America. Weak America. The weak America.
Back with us, Julian Epstein, Karen Finney and Ron Christie. Ron, let's be honest. If you were working with Vice President Cheney and this al-Qaeda leader had been taken off, you'd be ordered to write a speech praising the administration quicker than you can say Halliburton.
Well, I was a domestic policy advisor, but I give the president credit for this. The president of the United States gave the order, working with the CIA, working with the military, and we found the guy in Pakistan and took him out.
So why does Mitt Romney continue to describe him as a weak leader on foreign
Because on foreign policy, this is a military decision. On foreign policy, I think he's extraordinarily weak. I think he has inflamed Israel, for one, our closest ally and our only democratic elected ally in the region. Number two, by giving a date certain in Afghanistan, the Taliban is coming back and they're a lot stronger. China continues to manipulate their currency, making it a lot more expensive for American exports to go over and a lot more difficult for us to sell our products. So if you look at this president's record on foreign policy and what he's done, not military, but foreign policy, I think has been atrocious.
Did you write Mitt Romney's speech? Karen, coming to you. So Ron says that the president is weak on foreign policy.
Yeah, I guess he figures that it was, quote-unquote, weak of the president to say to the Iraqis when dealing with the Status Forces Agreement that if we can't have that agreement done in such a way that would protect any American troops who were left behind, then you know what? We're going to pull our troops out.
Yeah, that was weak.
That was so weak, right? Like to say, no way, right? I mean, you know, this is the rhetoric, though. I mean, and this is the strategy. Go after and try to turn an area of strength into an area of weakness. And I think, you know, time and time again, I'll tell you what was interesting about that clip from Mitt Romney. When I would travel abroad to Europe during the Bush years, I heard more Europeans expressing concern about the weakened condition of the United States and how dangerous that was for the world.
Please don't remind me of that period, Karen, because I was there and I literally remember every single thing.
Give me a break.
And I would say, hold on, and I would say that a lot of people would make the point that, you know, all this, you know, leading from behind and all this, I think the president has done a very good job, and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, in changing the nature of our relationship in the Muslim world, which is one of the best ways to keep us safe.
Indeed.
So that we take away that tool.
Absolutely. Julian, an unnamed Romney advisor tells the Huffington Post that al-Libi's death isn't, quote, a game changer. Another, Michael Hayden, calls al-Libi a rock star. So which Romney advisor is correct, or is everyone flipping and flopping?
Well, this is just politics on the part of the Romney campaign. I mean, unlike the previous president, excuse me, Ron, who was all hat and no cattle.
This is no cheap shots, Julian.
This is a president who has prosecuted 2 wars. This is a president who took down bin Laden, took down Gaddafi, took down the number 2 guy at in Al-Qaeda yesterday, who has prosecuted an unbelievably successful campaign on drone attacks. And these are the president's decisions, Ron. These are not military decisions. These are decisions the president made. This president also took action against the Chinese on trade sanctions, which the former president didn't.
No.
And I think the Romney campaign, again, is left with very, very little to critique this president with, other than these empty aphorisms. I mean, this is like a campaign that has about as many ideas as the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. There is just nothing out there that in any serious way distinguishes themselves from what Obama has done, because Obama has been a very centrist leader when it comes to foreign and military
isn't
policy.
The other problem here that many of Romney's foreign policy advisors actually agree with the president's stance on many of these important issues?
I think there are many issues that Republicans and Democrats can come together on. I think the drone attacks are certainly one of those. I disagree with the way that he's prosecuting the war in Afghanistan. We never should have had a date certain. And unlike Julian, I would never insult the president of the United States, the current one, by taking a shot and taking a cheap name attack. But I will say this. This president
you just called him weak.
Weak is not saying all hat, no cattle, Julian.
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Is that I respect.
That's a colourful metaphor.
The difference is a metaphor, Ron.
You guys
Ron,
love
make
insulting
your
people.
point.
Yeah, I'll make my point.
Please.
The point being, for the stellar record the president has in foreign policy, I think Syria is a disaster. I think that we've seen people who have been slaughtered. We've done nothing there. The president had the opportunity to stand up for folks in Iran. When Iran was looking for freedom, the president said nothing. You've heard what I've said about Israel. I don't think his foreign policy record is strong at all.
Let's just step back for a second, Ron. Every single foreign policy leader on the political right said that we shouldn't intervene in Iran because it would only have helped the regime. And on Syria, what would you do that the president didn't do in Syria?
Actually, I would have been engaged a lot earlier in Syria. I would have engaged.
They were very engaged in Syria.
No, we are not very engaged.
And
Julie, what have we done in Syria?
They took a very clear public position early.
Guys,
specifically, what would you have done in Syria?
Okay, go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I mean, here's the other piece of all of this. You have to remember that foreign policy is not always as cut and dry, which is part of why I think it is a very good way to look at the president's leadership. When we talk about Syria, that is not just about Syria. That actually also involves Iran. That also involves China. That also involves our relationship with Russia, who I think Mitt Romney thinks is our greatest world enemy right now.
Our number one geopolitical foe,
yes. So, I mean, I think the other thing, it's very easy from the outside to throw bombs and say, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. But as, you know, and I know, Ron, you know this because you've been in the White House. It is very different than when you are sitting there and you are looking at all of the top secret information in front of you that you don't have access to when you're on the outside. And you say, you know what, we're going to have to go this way because the truth is, who in Syria would we help?
Indeed.
Right? So,
indeed. Karen Finney, Julian Epstein, Ron Christie, I'm afraid we have to call a ceasefire, but thank you all.